Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm Kisma, and today's episode is all about the power of gratitude. I'm excited for this episode because we're going to have a slightly different take on what gratitude is. And I know it'll make a difference for you throughout this holiday season and beyond.
For show notes and resources, you can go to illuminationacademy.net/INK135. And now let's get started.
Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set.
Well, hello there, Nick.
Hello there, Kisma.
Well, what's going on?
Well, I just got back from the center, doing some things up there.
From the Energy Mastery Center in San Clemente, California.
That is exactly right.
Just so our listeners don't have to read our minds.
I was doing some, the
center of the earth.
The center. It's like our secret code word. It was good. I was there and just kind of getting things cleaned up. We have a group coming in this weekend and getting things in order, just doing some kind of mundane physical type of things, man. Pulled out that vacuum cleaner, did the stuff.
Oh, you were of service.
I was, yeah.
It's good to be of service.
It is, yeah. It's very humbling, and it reminds me of the responsibility of service.
Yeah, that whenever we go to India and we're at the Vedanta Academy, when is it, like once a week or once a month? There's campus cleanup, or twice a month?
I think it's once a week.
Maybe it is once a week.
Yeah.
But anyways, everyone goes out, including Swamiji, and everyone's sweeping and doing their duties. Like they're just given duties. Everyone does it. No one's better. And it is humbling. It shows the amount of care. Like when you're taking care of even a building or a campus or your home, and you approach it with that, I'm taking care of this beautiful place. Like there's a different intention behind it.
It really is. And I sometimes I forget how important it is. So at a moment, my mind can go into some really funny places of like I shouldn't be doing this, like I'm doing the vacuum cleaner. And then I realize there's this little corner and it's a little neglected and there's some stuff had built up there that I'm cleaning. And it's like, I shouldn't have to do this, or whatever. And then that's not helpful.
No. It's
not helpful. And it misses the whole point. Like you just said, is that, wow, this center is amazing. This center is amazing. Like the energy there is really, really awesome. And it's a really lovely space and it serves for our classes and all these cool things. And what an honor to be able to be of service in it.
I think that's awesome. I'll remember that when there's dishes left in the sink at home.
Pretty good about that.
You can just be like, what an honor to put those little glasses in the dishwasher.
Yes, when it's convenient.
No, please. The ongoing alchemy dispute.
It's not even that far off. It's just a couple points.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I think somehow yours got tricked into being higher on the last report.
All right.
Okay. Moving on. For our listeners, today we're talking about gratitude. And, it's interesting. I'm doing a lot of publicity, media work with some pretty cool people over at UAX. And, check out, maybe in these show notes, we'll put my latest entrepreneur article.
Yes.
Put that in there. It's really great. It's how to avoid burnout. Some very, very helpful tips. But one of the things I was talking about with one of our people, Nick Wolney, who's amazing, and check him out over on Facebook, was that gratitude is really being pitched a lot. Like it's Thanksgiving, it's the holidays and people are talking about it. And, Nick, you and I were chatting before about like, what's a really strong take on gratitude? Like what is gratitude really about, rather than just that blissed out, I'm so grateful kind of feeling, which is actually quite easy to bring in. I think the challenge is, in what way do we sustain that? And as I was saying, I like to look at gratitude as an action, as a verb, as a being.
Yeah. And I think with any of these things, like gratitude's nothing new. especially in, personal growth and, just living a more awesome life,
Right.
Gratitude is definitely a part of that.
Mhm.
And to really get to the truth of it, you have to dive deep into what that means.
Exactly.
And that's the part where I think the real power comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, Kisma. Tell us about the gratitude.
I think it's tricky.
Are you grateful for my dirty dishes?
No, not at all. Just honestly not. So grateful for the podcast that I can air it and just get all the listeners behind. No, honestly, gratitude's I look at it as, okay, what are all the amazing things that have occurred? What's happening right now? We talked about this back in the podcast of the law of increase. That what's the foundation point, a starting point where we can have gratitude? Because I guarantee each and every person can. We're breathing. We're on this planet. We have the sun that rises. We have the moon and the stars. All of these amazing things to begin to contemplate, right, in existence that is beyond our understanding. And so whenever we start to contemplate something beyond this, we get into that subtle intellect, more into the spiritual, the cosmos, right? That lifts us up. It changes our field to start.
Mm-hmm.
So then I look at, all right, how do we take that, or what do we do to bring that into everyday life? Because in essence, when we're moving forward with gratitude, whether it's gratitude for something that's working or gratitude for a challenge that is presenting an opportunity of learning, of building resiliency, of building strength, that gratitude propels us. It allows us to stay in momentum, in movement, and to continue to layer on top. It really does become powerful.
Yeah. I think there's a couple different layers there for sure. You went cosmic right out of the box.
Wow.
Well, I would expect nothing less. And that's beautiful. It really is. A lot of people don't take the time to live there.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing one of the exercises from your prosperity course this morning.
Yes.
Which I'm taking as
so grateful for that course. We just kicked it off last night.
Yeah, I'm taking it as a humble student, really just wanting to be a student. And so I was doing the exercise, and one of the things that really struck me about it was just how you really engaged our imagination in a way that it just highlighted to me how powerful the imagination is.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of creative aspect, right? And that to me is what I hear when you talk about wow, the cosmic universal aspect of gratitude for all of the things that we have no idea about that are supporting our life here. That's so amazing. But not a lot of people spend a lot of time there. And I think that's a really fun, just as a tip right off the bat, is if you're going to have a gratitude practice, is follow the trail.
Yes.
Follow the trail from one simple thing. Like it might be the cushion or the chair that you're sitting on,
or the phone that you're holding or listening to this podcast from,
whatever it is. And you start to go down that rabbit hole of where did that thing come from? We don't even think about those things, and they just kind of magically appear in our lives. I need a new phone. Okay, well, I'm going to go buy this awesome phone that does everything and that you can run your whole life from, that I can fit in my pocket. How cool is that? That's really, really neat. And when you let yourself kind of go down that rabbit hole, then it energetically, there's a massive shift in the tone and the resilience of your energy. But beyond that, in your mind, gratitude is a very soothing emotion that sets things at ease. And so kind of taking that creative approach, I think, is really valuable.
I love it. And it gives a sense of humility, because when we thread it back, who created the phone, who thought of it, what about all the people that are involved in the design upgrades? We hardly ever as humans stop and pause and think, who's responsible for everything in our surroundings?
Right.
And so when we do, we're just like, whoa, that's amazing. Have a sense of gratitude for all of those humans that have supported what you're doing right now.
Right.
All of a sudden, guess what? You realize you're not alone.
Yeah.
You are not alone on this planet. You're not alone in what you're creating. And there are other humans out there doing things to support you, even if they don't know your name.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. The reason I think that gratitude is powerful and that when we stay in the action of it, the verb of it, like this, I see it as just continuing to go deeper in this divine success channel. Because look at the reverse. If we don't have gratitude, there could be in our hearts, in our minds, resentment.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I would say, nearly impossible at a single moment to have gratitude and resentment, to have gratitude and anger. You might ping pong back and forth, but if you're really holding the flame and moving and turning the heart muscles and the thinking muscles around gratitude, there's not much space for resentment, anger, jealousy, etc., to move in.
I hadn't really thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right, though.
Yeah. So that's why gratitude is a soothing emotion. So when you're looking at creating power in the highest way in your life, in your business, in your family, look at the reverse. What happens when we get stuck in anger? Really not such great things. What happens when we exude resentment? It gets into our physical body. That's where a lot of people create illness because they've been carrying resentment. What about anxiety? We talked about this last night on the prosperity code. It diminishes our field of prosperity, of magnetizing for wealth and health and love and connection.
Mm-hmm.
So the opposites of gratitude, these lower vibe emotions, will drain us. They'll pull us back. They are known in the spiritual teachings as a weakened mindset.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing that you brought up, I think another layer of this is gratitude for the things that we have, or the things that are working. Personally, I think that's one of the easiest places to go. And there's value to it because it really starts to
It's a launching point.
It gets you, well, yeah, it's a starting point. It's easy. It's an easy in. And it really is it is as simple as a really, really quick shift in your mind from what's not working and all the things that you don't have to what is working and all the things that you do have. And that is not, anybody can do that.
Right.
Literally anybody can do that.
Right. It's just an awareness.
It is simply an awareness. It is that simple. But it's a great place to start because that's kind of where the rabbit trail goes. And those are the things that we really latch on to. So it's like, I remember one time I was surfing actually, and I got hit by a stingray.
Oh, I remember that.
Right. And if anybody's ever been stung by a stingray, like it really hurts, man.
Yeah.
Like it's no joke. It's like a super, super bad bee sting that bleeds. And anyway, so, that was it for my day. And I was going home. And one of the things they said to do was just, put it in super hot water. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, my foot's in all this pain. And I was really not happy at all. And I got a phone call. And normally I would just look at it. I didn't recognize the number, but I was like, whatever. Like, I'm just sitting here. I guess I'll just answer it, see who's up. And it was somebody who really needed something. And it took me a moment. It kind of took me out of my place. Again, it kind of comes back to the service part too, like that active piece of it. And so I was like, okay, cool. Well, I can definitely have a conversation with this person. And I did. And we both felt better. And I remember being so grateful that I had the opportunity to do that. And it brought me back to that place of like, oh, cool. Like there's people in my life, that I can connect with and that I can just pick up the phone and have a conversation
or
with.
that you can serve.
Yeah. And that you can serve. Everybody needs people to be the recipient of our gifts.
Right.
And the things that we do really awesome. And that person was there for that, for me, which took me out of that place. And it's like, oh man, like how much gratitude around that.
Yeah, for
it's so
sure.
Cool. So whatever that is for you, right? I don't know. What's something that you're really grateful for?
Well, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for my clients and students. And I one thing I am now just really big about for myself and students and clients is give thanks to the universe every single day. I was on a client call today and she's crushing it. Like she's making more money than I think she ever thought she was going to make. And I was like, it's good, be excited, and now give thanks every single morning, every single night. That's how we build that confidence in the universe, in God, source, spirit, whatever anybody's words are, that we will continue to build. The prosperity is when we're grateful.
Yeah. I love that you're bringing prosperity into it because you speak of the opposite emotions. Well, greed is one of the things that people get into when they become successful.
Exactly.
We've seen it so many times and they don't even know they're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really natural thing in a lot of ways, because it's like, wow, you create success for yourself. And, there's a lot of times there's this attitude of like, well, I did this, and yes, you totally did. And there were like a million other people who helped you without you even realizing it along the way. But then, when there is especially a financial success around it, there comes very quickly often a fear of loss.
A fear of loss, yes.
And that gets
a form of greed.
It gets into the greed.
Yeah.
And the gratitude is like the easy out from that. It's the easy bypass. And it's the way to keep that channel open,
right,
for everything to keep flowing.
Exactly. And then, on a more basic level, like this episode's coming out right before Thanksgiving. So maybe you're listening to it before, maybe on the day of, maybe after. This is really launching our holiday season. But sometimes when we're with family, if you're doing one of those traditional in the United States, one of those Thanksgiving meals, and you have challenges with your family or friends or something, that gratitude is a way to bypass it. Or just, I see it's like just float over, that Uncle Bob that's always pressing somebody's buttons, or Aunt Betty who happens to have 5 too many martinis. Like, I don't know, whatever goes on. I feel like there's something that goes on everywhere because people talk about how stressful it is. Man, be grateful you've got someone to share a meal with.
Yeah. Well, you bring up I think the third layer that you mentioned before, which is really important to talk about, is finding gratitude for the things that aren't working.
This is so essential.
Not as easy as the things that aren't working. Not as
easy, but think about it. I know if I sit here and say, oh, guys, what would life be like if everything worked out exactly as you want it? And everyone was like, awesome. And it would be awesome. Yet, where does the intellect come in? Where does our problem solving come in? Where does that ability to navigate an interesting or awkward conversation, or to, get over our own anger? Like, these things that happen, these things build strength in us. They build resiliency. They really do build power. When we're able to catch ourselves and make a very strong dynamic choice for the next right action, that in and of itself is exhilarating. If there's not a challenge, we never get to face that.
Yeah. There's a gift.
There's always a gift.
There's always a gift.
There's always a spiritual gift. Sometimes we can't see it right away, but it's like that Steve Jobs quote, connect the dots looking back, right? You can always connect them looking back. Sometimes in our world, we connect them looking forward, but there will be a gift. The key is, are we receptive to it?
Right.
Or are we too stubborn or in the need to be right, digging our heels in that, no, it was just horrible. I can't believe this happened to me. No, man, open up and see it, because somewhere there was a muscle built, there was resiliency created, there was a new level of your own talent and skill used that allowed you to get through it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the core of it. There's always a gift. I've never, ever seen there not be a gift. I've only ever seen where sometimes folks have to dig for it. They have to dig.
It can be really challenging.
Sometimes it just pops right out at you. Like, oh, totally get it. Like, when something, maybe one relationship goes sideways and it opens you up to the sure, that hurts for a while, but it opens you up to the opportunity to be available for somebody else who's like 10 times better.
Right.
Like, that's amazing, right? Or a business relationship that's 10 times more aligned and lucrative for you, that you never would have gotten the opportunity if your previous one had really worked out, right?
Exactly.
So there's always a gift there. Sometimes I think there's a little time to find it and to really have it flesh out to see what's there. But a big part of it is actually taking responsibility for your creation.
Exactly. We have to look at ourselves.
We always have to look at ourselves.
And that's not always fun. Yet it can be super exciting, because when we begin to understand, wait a minute, I'm actually attracting things, I'm creating things. Yeah, it all starts with this mind action and the essence of us. It doesn't mean it always makes sense. Yes, other people do things to us, etc., but our ability to handle things and the perspective can be so powerful.
Well, it's really your empowered state.
Mm-hmm.
And anything short of that is a place where you're in one way, shape, or form getting into some sort of blame or victimization or something of the sort that's just going to keep you stuck in the problem.
Right.
Right. Or whatever is wrong. And that's going to continue to restrict. It keeps you out of gratitude. It keeps you out of forgiveness. It keeps you out of love and connection. And it keeps you out of all of the possibilities that are literally right there in front of you that are just veiled by all these other things.
That's a good way to put it, veiled.
Veiled. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, the gifts are veiled by resentment, anger, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And like we've said a million times, every problem is driven by its unfolding solution. There would never be a problem if there was not a solution.
They cannot exist independently.
Right.
They always have to exist together.
Yeah.
There's always that. But I think that's, it's an important one. And lots of times I hear, people, well, first and foremost, they go to really the worst circumstances they can think of. Well, what about this horrible thing that happened? Or what about this natural disaster? Where's the gift in that? I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes we just don't know.
All right. I don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers here. But what I can tell you is if you let your mind go down that crazy train hole, well, then you're just going to get stuck in a whole bunch of things that are just way more complicated.
Right.
So it's really about bringing it back into you and your life and your experience. Because that's the cool thing about the universal laws is that once you understand it within yourself, then you can start to really see it acting in the world in bigger ways. But if you're looking for it in the world in bigger ways before you really understand it within yourself, you'll just get confused and frustrated and it won't make sense and you'll make it wrong.
Exactly.
Right. Or you'll make yourself wrong.
Oh, and that's not worth it.
For not getting it. I don't get it or I'm missing, it's no, just look back at yourself and start to really take that ownership over your life. And that's includes your thoughts. You have control over your thoughts, your emotions. You actually can control your emotions and your emotions are actually a choice.
And they're easier to control when gratitude's part of the recipe.
Yep. Absolutely. The actions that result from those and certainly your results.
Right.
Those are the things. If you really take 100% responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your results, you're golden. That is the fast track
it's extreme ownership.
It is, but it's the fast track to your highest state.
And I think you're right too. It's doing it without that slather of guilt, shame, wrong. No, it's just observation.
Yeah.
Because think about it this way, everyone. You might say oh, it's going to feel so heavy. I got to look at, no, it's not about what we do wrong. It's not about what we do right. It's about where are we landing? Are we landing in alignment with what we want to create or are we not? And one of the fastest ways to move over to the alignment piece is to create and have that essence of gratitude.
Yep.
That will propel you forward. And so it actually becomes exciting because we realize we have greater control over self and our own world than we may have ever been taught in school or growing up.
Right. And it's such an easy in. So, because I want to tie a few of these pieces together that I think are important where first and foremost, you can choose your emotions. All right. And gratitude is a way to connect with a higher emotion for yourself in a really quick way. And the easiest in for that is just shift. It's a simple shift in perspective.
Right.
And then you can take that and apply it in either a broader scope of your life of just whoa, this human experience is freaking wild. And it's just, I'm awestruck. Or you can translate it really simply over into an area that you're challenged in that's not working the way that you want it to. Maybe somebody's not behaving the way that you think they should, or they're being just a bad human. People do that, they're people that are just bad humans sometimes. And, or maybe it's just something that you're really, really stuck on. Well, whatever it is, I guarantee that the more that you dig your heels in around it, the more that you're going to stay stuck in it.
Absolutely.
But gratitude is that softening element, that agent that allows there to be a little bit more freedom around that to say like, okay. And if you just, in your own mind, if you just accept that there is a solution there, just pretend that that's true. Even if you're part of you is like not fully believing it, but if you're just like, okay, I'm just going to assume that this is true. there's a solution right inside of there, and there's a treasure. Then you get to get on your creative, that kind of creative side of you, and also that investigative side that says, all right, where is it?
Right.
Let's go.
And you're staying in your track, in your lane. That's where the power again begins to kind of whirl in motion.
Yeah.
Because I mean, one of the things I'm creating gratitude around this challenge is when I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I look and some, quote unquote personal growth leaders or teachers or trainers, and they'll just cast these daggers out. They'll make other people wrong or lock in an opinion. I don't know. It just seems a little bit self-serving. I'm like, oh, well, that's an opportunity for me to just like cut the cords and come right back to my lane.
Yeah. I have an alter ego. And I'm not going to share who it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share the name, but I do have an alter ego on Facebook.
You do.
And every once in a while I go out and I troll people with love. I do.
Maybe you guys can find him. If you find him, like email us what you think the alter ego is.
See if you can find the alter ego.
Yeah.
Very few people know. We've told a couple people, but he exists out there.
Trolling with love.
Trolling with love. Yeah. And what the game is to shift perspective, to just see like what, how you can get people to interact in a different way.
Right.
And to do it through an avatar that is not, not me and not attached to my personal.
He's not
Facebook.
Even attached to the world. I love that.
Yeah, he's not, as a matter of fact. Yeah. But you know what this reminds me of is reflecting back. Certainly the episode we just did on forgiveness.
Right. That's a great one, everyone.
Such a big part of that. And the episode on non-resistance.
Oh, good one. Back in the laws.
So the gratitude, when I think about it as an emotion, when I think about emotions, often I think about the texture of them. Like, well, what is that like? Like if it were energy, which it is, but like, what would that energy feel like? And I really, gratitude to me is like really kind of warm and fuzzy. And it's got like a tingle to it. But it's also, like I said, that softening.
It's soothing, softening. It's like a warm, comfy blanket.
Yeah. And it just lets everything kind of move.
But with that, again, I maintain comes power, because everything else will stop us and stall us and create congestion. All that heavy stuff will not serve our lives.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
And I'm not saying to check out and not feel. There's times we're going to feel angry. We're going to be hurt. We're going to feel sad. These are emotions. The question is, how long are you going to stay there?
Right.
And what can you do to find something? So let's give a few tips. All right, here we are approaching Thanksgiving, the holiday season. A tip for our listeners from how you approach gratitude.
How I approach gratitude. Well, first and foremost is decide to make a little practice of it.
Oh, so it's a choice to actually
just
practice the gratitude.
Do the thing,
to be in action, to be the verb.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm a little gratitude bunny.
Yeah. So my first recommendation would be to do it, is just make a point for that self. Lots of people keep gratitude journals. I think that's awesome. If that's your thing, it may just be as simple as for you as like, hey, I'm going to play a little game on my ride to work today and I'm going to find 10 things I'm grateful for.
That's cool. Or write down 3 things in the morning, or when you're at Thanksgiving dinner the night before, whatever, just, I would say it's like tap your heart and see the full potential in each person.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good one.
The tapping of the heart.
Both of them, actually. The tapping of the heart. Hey, that really works.
It really does.
There's an energy center there. Whether you believe in it or not, it exists. And when you tap or place your hand on your heart, you'll activate it. And then that part of you can have a little bit more of a say in what's going on with your interaction with the
things are delivered, tone of voice.
It makes a huge difference. So if you're here's a ninja hack. I'm going to give away the ninja hack.
Okay.
Is when you're responding to an email and maybe they didn't maybe they said something the wrong way, or maybe somebody wrote something on your Facebook wall and you're kind of like, okay, so write whatever you're going to write. I'm not telling you what to write, but what I am saying is write it one-handed, because you're going to put your left hand on your heart.
Yeah.
And you're going to type that message with your right hand. And I guarantee it will come across differently.
It will come across differently. It's pretty much a miracle hack.
I love that one. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if you're in a conversation and you take a moment to breathe and tap your heart, it's like just a few seconds before you respond. Those few seconds can make all the difference in the world.
Yes, they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they can. And I guarantee nobody will even notice it. They won't. They're like, why are you tapping your heart? Nobody's going to say that. Like, they won't notice that at all. But what they will notice is that you're like, oh, we can have a conversation now. Right. Rather than back and forth, or everybody digging their heels in, or whatever it is that's going on. We're in a heightened state of anxiety. That's one of the things that we're seeing. And that's one of the parts about this time of the year that becomes stressful.
Yeah.
People who've lost people, like, well, coming into this time, if you've lost somebody in your life, well, if that was somebody really close to you, well, you would have spent these holidays with them.
I know.
By and large. So those people that were closest to us, we keenly feel their loss. So that's the one layer of it. Another layer of it is there's just a million different things to do.
Yeah.
It's coming in towards the end of the year. So business stuff is kind of wrapping up for this quarter and this end of the year. And then there's all this other stuff on top of that, of like family stuff and fitting it all in and all in presents and like whatever it is that you celebrate and cooking and all that kind of stuff. Well, when you start to put all that together, school stuff and all those other things, well, before you know, that's
shopping.
That's a recipe for a lot of anxiety.
It can be.
So, and that gets depleting and it gets really kind of,
rare.
Like that's a good way to put it. So, put your hand on your heart.
And breathe.
And breathe.
And really breathe. Yeah, I love that. So hopefully this supports you during this holiday season. A really quick, soothing emotion, calming down, getting anchored, look around, find gratitude, and then think of yourself as being gratitude.
Yeah. And my last piece on this one, just really, really quickly, is don't wait.
Yeah, avoid waiting.
Right? Because we're heading into the holiday season. Like, it hasn't really ramped up into full steam.
It is right after this podcast.
Right?
It's happening.
It's starting, right? But don't wait. Don't wait until things are really off the rails or you're really feeling, make the practice to begin with to start to explore it so that you can really step into it.
That's good, because it'll help you to not take on other people's anxiety, which is what I think actually happens in the holidays. Don't take on other people's. Be the gratitude bunny.
The gratitude bunny.
Be the gratitude bunny.
So as I understand, we have a few more episodes of this.
The holiday season, how to de-stress and not get entangled and caught up in the whole thing.
I love that you thought of that. That's so cool.
Too.
Yeah.
All right.
So look forward to some upcoming episodes on that. It's going to be really useful for you through the holidays. You can listen to the episodes and re-listen to them. You can even share them with some of those people in your life. Like, hey, I'd like you to listen to this episode before our Thanksgiving dinner. Hint, hint, maybe not that obvious. But no, in all seriousness, please feel free to share. Yeah. That's more light for the world. Give us a rating and review on iTunes. That's super helpful for getting the word out there. And more than anything, we are incredibly grateful for each and every one of you.
Absolutely.
Namaste.
Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.